boy, Knew Better, Do Better. Listen, man, we just keep getting better and better. We keep going on and on. We keep doing what we do. It just keeps happening, flowing naturally. You know how we do. We are back with another episode. Callie's going to kill me because, once again, I don't remember which episode is it. 17?
Episode 18.
18. I was close. Callie, I was close. You can't get mad at me. I was close. Yes. We are ready with episode 18. I'm going to remember 19. I'm going to remember 19, I promise you.
Is 19 a special number?
The difference between 17 and 18 legally is very important, though. So.
yes. Very, very important. So, as always, I'm your boy, Knew Better, Do Better, Lord of the Rings, lore expert, and, social media guy, whatever you want to call me. And I got my wonderful co-host, KaliCosplay. Callie, introduce yourself.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to episode 18, another amazing episode that we have prepared for you. We have two guests here. They are Jessica and Alex from the Podcast of the Rings. I hope I got that right, everybody.
Perfect. Nailed it. Awesome. I can't even say our podcast name right ever. So
I listened to one of the episodes, and you were calling it rings. I think you were
podcasts.
Podcast and Rings and Power got a little conflated, and but that's all right.
It's all right. We're, new to the game. We got you. We got your back. We got your back.
I appreciate it.
So tell me not very quickly. We have plenty of time this episode. This is a regular episode, everybody. So that comment was because we've been doing special episodes as wrap-ups of the each episode. And we move those along quickly. But we are back to regularly scheduled programming, so we can take our time and we can enjoy this chat. This is the episode, the chance for KnewBetta and myself to just really get to know other podcasters in the space. So I'm excited. Do you guys want to tell us about yourselves?
Well, yeah, I'm going to jump in really quickly. I think it's really nice when people are like, hey, who's out there who wants to do this, and then actually following up. There's like the world where people go, hey, who's out there and who wants to join our podcast, and they're just trying to get new followers. And then there's the other version of like, actually, we want to get to know people. So it's very nice to see your follow through and be a part of this. So thank you.
No problem. No, we're glad to have you. We love anybody who loves Tolkien and are generally just good people, and it's awesome to have you on. So thank you very much for accepting our invitation. That means a lot because we are new as well. We're only on episode 18, so we're glad to have you, and we're glad to spark this conversation. And so let's get into it. Can you guys tell us where you guys can be found at?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Go for it, Alex.
Yeah. So twitter.com/pod of the rings. And if you just look up Podcast of the Rings on whatever platform you consume your podcast, you can find us there. And I believe podcastoftheRings.com as well. Yep. We're on Instagram, POTR Pod, all the things, all the socials.
Really concise branding.
Yeah, exactly. Consistent.
If someone wanted to watch or listen to a podcast about Lord of the Rings, we've made it really hard and easy to remember us. Like we have all the keywords that are in everybody else's keywords. So you guys did it right. Having Voices of Arda just completely like put yourself in a different category as opposed to some play on Lord of the Rings or something.
Lord of the Rings. I was thinking it, but then I was like, let's do something different.
Smart. I'm not unhappy. I think actually I was more surprised that Podcast of the Rings still existed.
I'm very surprised when you said it. I was like, how dare they? Where did they get this?
So let me ask you this question. And I have, obviously friends are coming out of the woodwork, and I'm sure you're having the same experience too, where they're actually huge Tolkien fans. I went to a party with my friend on Saturday, and she was like, I actually spent my 40th birthday at Hobbiton, and they sang happy 111th birthday to me. But like, I never knew this about this woman. But a friend of mine said it should have been Pod of the Rings. But I'm just gonna, you're the lyricist, KnewBetta. Is Pod of the Rings better, or should it have been Podcast of the Rings? Which one do you think sounds better?
I see where they're coming from, Pod of the Rings, but Podcast of the Rings sounds better to me because a pod could be anything, even though we know it's a podcast. Pod could be anything. So tell them to take that and go smoke that in the pipe.
Thank you for their opinion. We're gonna stick to
Nah,
it.
No, I'm
what we
just
said.
joking. No, I definitely understand where they're coming from.
Oh, meaning
but-
their opinion. I agree with you. It's
yeah,
podcast
but
the ring.
Podcast of the
flows.
Ring, I like that better.
It
Podcast of the Ring.
flows.
Like I like it. I like the flow. I like the flow.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
so let's get into it. You guys are now, from my understanding, newer Tolkien fans,
Well,
Oh.
or
so
are you super hardcore?
We're
I think
newer
we're-
to the Tolkien space online as far as like sharing.
Okay.
Or like, so I made Alex call himself an expert because he's an expert. And I think one of the reasons he was looking for he followed you and is looking forward to talking to you, not to talk for him, but you know things he doesn't know, and he's excited to like rap with you about that. But I read The Hobbit when I was 13. I love it, but I don't know I have the Silmarillion and the Unfinished Tales, but I don't want to read it. I don't care. But he
I
helped me. So the conceit was he's going to guide me as someone who loves me through knowing, getting to learn these new lore things to me that I was interested in, but it was kind of hard to digest otherwise.
yeah, because I've been a Tolkien fan since I was 9 years old. I started with
I
thank
know,
you.
so cute.
I kind of had a weird path, or an abnormal path, where the first book I read in Tolkien's work was the Silmarillion. I saw it sitting on my dad's
God
bookshelf.
bless
So
you.
weird.
Bless your soul.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have his first American edition still that I read as a kid. Probably so much of it went over my head when I first read it, but that was my gateway. And then I read the other books, Hobbit, Lord of the Rings, and then saw the Peter Jackson film. So I've been pretty much my whole life a Tolkien fan. And as Jess said, even though I know a lot, I still am like, well, I'm not like an expert. I don't try to claim that, but that's
But
what's
he's
been
the
fun
guy who can
about
pull
doing the
out
show.
an atlas and be like, okay, well, if they're traveling from Eregion to Mordor, like, so he's got it all.
This one right here,
So that
the
makes
Atlas
you
of Middle Earth.
That makes you an
Yes.
expert.
Yeah. It sounds like we're gonna be fast friends, my dude.
Yeah, I hope so.
Let's do it. Let's make it happen.
Yeah.
Well, actually, my question now too is Callie, where do you fall on the? We all know how KnewBetta loves everything. Where do you fall on like the beginning into Tolkien spectrum of knowing things?
So I was extremely young as well when I started, and I would say that I could probably like if so like on a 5-point scale of difficulty, with 5 being KnewBetta's level and 1 being like the beginner level, I could probably explain to people up to like a 3, 3.5, maybe a 4 on that scale.
Are
But
you an
I'm very
engineer?
quiet. So no, a lot of people don't realize that I have all this stuff inside my head, because I kind of like sit here and I listen and I contribute a little bit, but I'm very shy still with it.
You're the
So
programmer in the background, like how I always, if you guys ever watched the podcast, Callie does everything. Like he does the brunt of the work and everything. Like I think she's comfortable in that space,
Right.
whereas I'm more comfortable with the voice and the, doing things as far as like talking and asking questions and responding and
Engaging.
and engaging and all that stuff. And she's just content, and we'll make a really good team in that way. But I just want to make sure it's never underestimated how important Callie is. She is literally the shining star of this whole thing. Would be nothing without her. That's why when we started speaking, she found me and we end up following each other and became what do you call it? I can't remember the name. What you call it?
Peers.
Peers and
Pairs,
and
friends,
friends.
acquaintances, etc.
We just were clicking so well, and I was like, you know what? I think I really could do a podcast, because we had such a good back and forth, going. Even now, just in the community, she's always willing to do stuff. Hey, do you need me to do a Discord? I was like, I got one, but I don't really, run it as that well. I just know, I know the basics of it, but sure, And then I'm thinking she's just, gonna maybe tighten a few things up or add something. She builds a whole world, an entire world like J.R.R. Tolkien in a Discord, and now it's a thriving Lord of the Rings community, and it's all of Callie doing that. People come if name recognition has anything, because I know what I'm talking about, but the network is all Callie. You know what I'm saying? Like she does the meat and potatoes of everything. So I can't stress enough. I think it's very important to give her a recognition and for people to understand that. And people are seeing that because I start talking to people, I'll run into somebody and they'll be like famous and they'll be like, yeah, I know who Callie is. And it's like, that's what I'm talking about. Absolutely. Like people that I'm like, that is crazy because she's very quiet and she's very reserved. And when you get to know her, she's not, she's
Totally. That's a typical introvert.
But she is a machine and she is awesome. And thank you so much. Always, Callie, always got to do that. It's going to be like out of the 18 podcasts, I think it probably like 17. I'm praising her in some way because she deserves it. Absolutely.
It's beautiful. So. I mean, you can kind of see like the quiet confidence in her too. She's like,
she knows her shit. She knows her shit. Say all that to say that she knows what she's talking about too. She's not just, she knows her lore. We just did a trivia contest and she was the host. You know what I'm saying? We won again.
Yes. So we had a trivia and there were 2 teams of 5 members each, and we had 50 questions, and we really gave it to them. It was it was good trivia. It was a lot of fun.
Callie, the first one was difficult. Like I was like, these questions were kind of freaking hard. Like, and I was like, she was like, no, don't worry, this one they're not going to be that hard. And I was like, all right. She freaking lied. It was like, I was like, damn, we did good. Like it's just like, damn, like what level of academia do you think this is? Like,
and if you're saying they're hard, I can only imagine.
They are no joke, no walk in the park. And I'm
it sounds like you
confident.
need to be on a team next.
I am not going to be there. I'm going to watch him from the stands and cheer him on.
Well, Jess, you've actually been I don't want to say I'm surprised with how much you've been picking up in terms of remembering the lore and stuff, but there have been moments where you like pull a name or something that I'm like, I'm impressed. I'm
really just trying to turn you on. He is doing such a good job as a teacher, though, kind of. Because he's new to podcasting. He's new to putting himself out there. He's obviously personable and wonderful, but like me being, if you were to like look at childhood videos and my dad's telling my sister like, hey, turn around, I think he's talking to me and I'm going to do like a pirouette because I want to be the center of attention. So I'm not shy from that stuff, but he's taking all of his teacher skills and applying it so wonderfully. And I'm actually interested in retaining it.
Yeah. And it was interesting hearing you sort of describe the dynamic between you and KnewBetta, but I feel like it's similar with Jess and I, where I'm a little more, even though I have this knowledge, like I'm a little more reserved, like in terms of my personality. So it's nice to have Jess, who is not that, to have kind of a contrast there. And I think the dynamic works well. But yeah, I've never done trivia. I've always wanted to do trivia nights. I would love to be a part of that and see just how good my lore knowledge is. Because I think the thing for me that I slip up on, and we make jokes about this on the show, is especially with the elves, the family trees and the names. There's a lot of Finns that can get confusing with remembering which Finn is which.
Well, there's Ariels and Durs and Finns and it's just like all the girls in the 80s were Ika or Ia or E, like we all had the same kind of like last 3 letters, and in the Middle Earth they all had like the surnames are similar or like the root words are similar.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least that's how I think about it.
I don't find that he was terribly creative with his names all the time. The man was a master linguist and world builder and geographer, but his naming conventions could have been.
He was at least consistent.
They actually are very the way they're structured and the way he set the world. They actually are. So we're not going to get into that because that's
why not? Let's get into it. Let's go, because I'm having a problem where I say Sauron is Sauron 10 times a week. Like
that's the one I have a problem with, is the villains having similar sounding names. But I get why he did it. But it is confusing.
Absolutely understand that. Like, don't think just because I know a lot of lore that I is somebody who doesn't have trouble with the names or didn't have trouble with the names. I used to say Sauron every day. And I would get like backlash from it. And I know it's Sauron, but I'm from New York and we don't talk like that. So
Oh.
it is a freaking challenge for me to say Sauron. Like I just got used to doing it like in the last year. So now I say
Tolkien
Sauron,
is
no
hard for me
problem.
because I was Tolkien for my whole life. Like,
Oh yeah.
and then you're in LA, so everyone's like, it's Tolkien, as opposed to just letting you say.
I tell people go.
It's
if
fine.
I know, like I know what I'm talking about, I'll say Tolkien, and I would go fuck yourself because I'll say whatever I want to say. Like, that's a fact, though. Like when I used to say Sauron, you like go fuck yourself because I know it's Sauron, but I'm like people don't understand. Like New Yorkers have a certain way we talk, so it's really difficult to say certain names, not because I'm being stupid and I don't want to pronounce it right. It's difficult. Like if I got to go the extra miles, like you know who I'm talking about. Clearly, I'm talking about the guy with the eye. Like cut the shit. Like you
And
know what I'm
being
saying?
right
Like,
isn't important here.
yeah, like as long as I'm not giving false information and I know how to actually say like cut it out. And some people just have twings and twitches and things where they say stuff a different way. It's okay. You know what I'm saying? As long as they ain't completely butchering the name to a point where you can't understand who it is. So Saruman and Sauron, it's there, they're similar, but you can differentiate. The Finns, at first you're gonna have trouble, but then it's just repetition. Repetition,
exactly.
You'll get it. You know what I'm saying?
And that's just it too. When I recognized I was conflating Sauron with Saruman when we were talking about like the Palantirs, I realized I was wrong like halfway through, and instead of going, oh my God, I am the worst, I just went, oh, I fucked up, and that's okay. And then Alex actually very kindly was like, people do that all the time. I've done that a million times. And I mean, I would say that my improv background helps me. I needed to do improv to help me stop being insecure about not being able to say something right or making a mistake, etc. And so being able to just move on and go, oh, I'm a human. You are too. Let's continue this conversation.
Absolutely.
So I have a not serious question for you guys.
Love this.
How do dolphins share information?
Oh my God, we were doing so freaking well. I'm sorry I didn't warn you guys that Callie does a stupid joke every freaking time, and we were doing so well. Like we
he complains about it every time.
There was a point of no return we should have been at, but she somehow just was like waiting. She was like double dutch. She was like like
I'm always looking for.
Okay, hold on. So the thing is, I'm so glad you butted in, KnewBetta, because I was about to answer honestly, because one of the books I read in middle school was about echolocation and hold on, and twins that could telepathically communicate with a set of twin dolphins. So I'm glad that you let me know. I know. I know. It was a whole book. It was a whole series, and
Not
twins ended up on this island, and then it just turned out that they could basically lastly communicate with dolphins. But Alex, what's the joke? What's the answer to the joke? How do dolphins communicate with each other?
I'm just shook by what you just said. I have no idea.
All right. So the answer
how
is
do they?
Via podcast.
I like it.
Grown.
I like it.
That was not the greatest.
I approve.
One. I get
Are
it.
they all podcast jokes though? Is that what it is?
I mix it up.
Okay.
So this is our podcast episode. So I just figured I'd do a podcast joke.
That's special. That's really
Yo,
special.
Thank you.
Callie, I need you to do me a favor. I need you to make sure you send this to Luke. Star Wars Luke, I need you to make sure you send this to him.
Okay.
I'm going to curse him out right now. So I'm recording on my phone right now. And his little Discord channel that he created and invited me to, messages keep popping up. And 8,000 messages have popped up since we started this podcast. And Luke, you little punk.
You're disturbing his flow.
You're disturbing my flow, man. I keep having to swipe the screen. I'm like, damn, man. I told him I was going to mute him. I should have just muted him. Now I
had to do that with my Discord, and I get a lot of shit because I have my own community for streaming for video games, and it's very nice. Like it is a community, and I'm sure Callie, you've got it to this point of yours too, where you can just kind of let it go, and everyone's going to start their own conversation. That's like the goal, right?
Yes.
I was in the in-between stage of people are going to post and talk about their own thing, but I probably should be involved in it. And it's not for lack of wanting it, but it is the 75,000, pings a day. So I had to take it off my phone. I mean, even from my own mental health, I don't have Twitter in notifications. I don't have Instagram notifications. I know I'm going to go check out those apps. I don't need it to show up on my phone, but I wasn't on my Discord enough for it to look like I cared. And so I had to make an active shift into, all right, one of the things I have to check every day is my Discord to make sure people know that I care about them.
So let me ask you guys a question. I'm going to ask both of you guys the same question. So
A serious question
one
this
can answer.
time, not one of my questions.
Being Alex, being a Lord of the Rings aficionado, what is your favorite story from the entire Legendarium? And Jessica, you being more as I don't really care, but I know some stuff. What is your favorite story from the Legendarium?
All right, you get to go, Alex.
I would say probably the Baron and Luthien tale. It's classic.
Same.
It was Tolkien's kind of favorite story and one of the seeds for everything. So there's just so much good stuff from a storytelling perspective. It has adventure, action, tragedy, romance, a talking dog. Like, what more do you want? So it's got it all. It's emblematic of his whole mythos. So that for me is probably my favorite story.
That's always my answer as well. So that's we're kindred spirits, my friend.
Yeah.
All right, Jessica.
So
okay, Jess, what's your lame answer?
Baron and Luthien. Well, so actually the one I'm actually most excited to learn about is Baron and Luthien. I didn't retain that when I was reading Lord of the Rings as a 13, 14-year-old, that was a direct allusion to Aragorn and Arwen. So I'm a sucker for star-crossed lovers. I finally have grown out of thinking Romeo and Juliet's a romantic story, but I do live for the, like Moulin Rouge and the tragedy, like those things. I love it. But I'm gonna my joke answer is Halbrand.
Oh God.
That's my joke answer.
You weren't joking when we talked about that on, but you actually said that was your favorite part.
For the show, it was he's become my most memorable favorite part, the thing I'm looking forward to the most in rewatching, because watching how they literally snake him in through the whole series and like how they hint to us, it's like the most puzzle solving, and it's like the most interesting is why I think it's the best part of the Rings of Power series. But I would think Gandalf, I think it broke my heart when he fought the Balrog and died, and then I think it was probably the first time I'd read a serious series of books and lost a major character that I cared about from the first iteration of the Hobbits to the next one, or Lord of the Rings. And then when he comes back as Gandalf the White, I'm having chills just thinking about it, and I don't think I've reflected on it like this. It's a huge moment. And it sticks out in my mind so probably the most impactful is that story. I'm gonna mute just because I'm sure you guys can hear the fucking gardeners that decided to go because I'm recording, just so you know.
No, we
actually can't hear anything.
Oh, great. Then I'm not even going to worry about it. Awesome.
Yeah, no, don't worry about it.
You're good. Sounding good.
They're
Gandalf,
dropping no eaves, right?
That's right. Gandalf gives me the chills, I think. He's so much better than Dumbledore, by the way. Dumbledore can get
absolutely.
Yeah.
Dumbledore is trash.
Trash bags. So Callie, what is your favorite story in the Legendarium? Give her something to think about over here.
All right. She's like, I can't say Baron and Luthien. I can't say.
I know, that's already been.
You sure can. You can say whatever you like.
Of course you can.
Baron and Luthien is the one that I always put on. Like when I'm in the car and I'm going, on a road trip, or if I'm introducing one story, I'm like, I have people trapped in my vehicle and I'm like, okay guys, I control the radio and you're going to listen to one story of Lord of the Rings, damn it. And it's going to be Baron and Luthien. So that's always what I do is I trap people in my car and I make them listen to Baron and Luthien.
So many epic moments in that entire thing, man. Like multiple villains. Just it's epicness beyond epicness. Like I just think it's a complete story. Tragedy, love, I'm saying, like fights, epic showdowns, like epic showdowns. You got Sauron versus Finrod. You got Sauron versus Huan. What I'm saying? Huan versus Karkaroth. Karkaroth versus Baron. Baron loses because he's a bum. Luthien and Morgoth. Oh man. It's so many things, and one of them I'm gonna say underrated, but Baron's showdown with Thingol, where Baron is like apprehensive at first, but then he's like, "Yo, man, He talking to me crazy. Like my dad is, you know what I'm saying? Like, what are you talking about? My dad is Barry here. Like, you can't talk to us crazy like that. We don't deserve that. Like, we saved your nephew's life. Like, you put some respect on my name, and
Right.
it was real. Like, you felt it. Like, you know what I'm saying? And it's dope. And then you got Melian, who's such a wise character that nobody listens to. If they listen to, I think Arda would be such a better place if people listen to Melian. And then we got Luthien, who is just a straight up powerhouse. Just a straight up powerhouse, but at the same time, so fragile, very feminine, but a powerhouse. So the dynamic there is awesome. How she's so beautiful and graceful and lovely, and flowers go where she's at, and she can heal the hurts of her loved one and change the mind of a God that never changes his mind. But then when it's time to throw down the walls and she's talking crazy to Sauron, like, yo, your goats to get sent quaking back to Morgoth, like, yield the tower. You know what I'm saying? Like, he freaking to just so many things. Like,
and like just makes him sleepy just
yeah,
with the cloak. I love
Oh,
that
that's
moment.
right.
Oh,
She
God.
flicks her robe. She's like, "Hey,
Let's just be
Hair
clear.
rope, yeah.
hold on."
She
So
cheated.
KnewBetta, I gotta know, were you the only kid that was reading this stuff, or how did you get to here? Because obviously you must have been introduced to it and went, "This is all I want to read." But what was your introduction? How did you get in?
Yeah. So I was just like, I was really always a really smart kid, but I was also bad in school because I was like, I guess wasting my, I was just bored in
You were
school because
bored.
of that. So I was trying to be cool in school.
Mm,
I always get in trouble. And Detention was in the library, told the story a million times on here. I love to read, so I would, read all kind of books and everything. And then I kind of ran out of books to read, and I was like, And then my man was like, yo, read The Hobbit. And I was like, what? What's The Hobbit? And I saw the cover and I liked the cover. So I read it, and then I was hooked. I was like, "Oh, this is dope." I thought that was it, though. Then my man was like, "Yo, Dad, there's more. It's the Lord of the Rings. Read the Lord of the Rings." I was like, "What?" And I had seen the Hobbit cartoon before that, but I had no connection. I didn't, you know what I'm saying? I had grew up with that, and I just didn't really know what it, you know what I mean? So when I
it
read
probably
it, though,
wouldn't
when
have
you read
grabbed
it,
you in the same way
yeah,
either.
it's a lot more deeper when you read it. So then I read the Lord of the Rings, and that was it. That was absolutely it. Absolutely all stuck. But where I come from, like, that wasn't the thing to be reading and doing and
Right.
none of that. So I was alone in that. But always was, respected for it or whatever. Just wasn't everybody else's forte. But always was like, hey man, do your thing, man. But that's definitely ain't what we talk about. We talking about the Lord of the Rings. We trying to play basketball or be on the block or whatever the case may have you, or do whatever. I was, you know what I'm saying? So I would just keep it to myself until I found little openings here and there. And then finally I found TikTok almost 40 years later. So
And that's, I think, what is the most exciting thing about how you share your information is the way you've internalized all the stories makes it, you're so passionate in sharing it, and you are so inclusive, because I think this happens to a bunch of us in Cali. I'm sure you've experienced too, but I don't want to assume your experience. I was very much picked on, and we go through the phase of, oh well, do I want to never tell anybody what I'm interested in, or do I also want to gatekeep people from this? And then you realize how much better and more full your life is. It's like, oh, I really want to bring you into this. I'd love to make this more understandable to you if you're interested. If not, carry on liking Star Wars and not giving a shit about Tolkien. I don't give a shit. I
yeah.
think it's really awesome to see how you fold people in, and you must be at a really interesting pinnacle of this fan world, especially with the vitriol that's happening too.
Oh my gosh, it's interesting. It's tiring. It's
It's
so many different
upsetting.
things. It's upsetting, but then again, you're fighting a good fight, and then you get victories. You're taking blows. It's back and forth. Ultimately, the fandom is great. There's a lot of
Totally.
jerks in there, but overall, the fandom is great. And now we're kind of learning to just tune out the nonsense, laugh at them because they don't make any sense. I have a unique experience with the Lord of the Rings where I was always, and I don't want to say this at the risk of sounding like I'm, pat myself on the back. But I was always cool in a sense. Like I was always one of the cooler kids when I got in high school, not before. You know what I'm saying? So, and I always was like, I just roll with like certain people, and picked on was not a thing for me. Like that was no, people would joke, I'm sure and everything like that. But that's more where we come from. That's everybody do that to each other.
That's
It's more joking
love.
on each other. But as
Yeah.
far as being bullied and none of that, I was fortunate. I was never. We wouldn't even allow that type of thing. We don't like bullies. We grew up very much fighting all the time and stuff like that. So it was like, bully what? We get it popping. Like, we just bully who? Like, it's not a thing. So that it was very interesting dynamic because so I didn't have to worry about somebody picking on me about none of that. They always, all my friends and people I grew up around always loved people for being who they was. So like my friends would be on the block doing the X, Y, and Z, and we'd be out there chilling, doing this, that, and the third. But let's say there's a kid that's not for him. They never was like, yo, come out here and do this, or they never was like that. They was like, yo, shorty, go do your thing. This ain't you. Do your thing. So that was always a good thing. I had a very singular experience with that and got lucky. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, there was no outlet for me with the Lord of the Rings because I can't go to them. They was into different things, and so it would be like a void, literally the void from Lord of the Rings. Like I felt like that, and I love it so much and so much passion, but I had nobody to talk to it about, and except for like one random family that was like in the next town, but there wasn't. Our cultures were very different, and I see them once in a blue moon. I would love going there, but it's not the same as me trying to get my friends involved, and they just don't want to hear it. It's like, yo, dude, I love you, and I love all of that. I like that you like that, but that ain't for me. And I was like, want to get them to know why I like it so much, and you can relate to things that we grew up around with this. You definitely can. They just couldn't see it. A lot of times, you get in different cultures and different things, people just they pigeonhole themselves into thinking, I'm not going to like that because that's nothing to do with and that's absolutely not the case. It was a lot of escapism for me, getting into these books. And then the things I did appreciate in real life or liked or thought that was cool, I could always relate them. And I could just be like, oh, that's gangster, this gangster, or whatever the case may have you. Any walk of life, it's some way to connect it to Tolkien. And that's what I did. And now that it's paying off and getting a little recognition, and people are like, "Oh, KnewBetta, you know what you're talking about?" To see those friends come back and be like, "Yo, man, that's dope. Oh, man, I'm interested. I want it because I know it was, all those times I was, neglecting or whatever. I didn't know it was this cool. Like, you know what I'm saying? I can't force anybody till they're ready." And there's been times where when the Lord of the Rings movie came out, I kind of forced my friends to go and to see their reaction in the beginning and their reaction at the end of the movie where they were like, man, this looking crazy. And then at the end, they fully invested like, yo, oh, my man got to pop in at the like, you know what I mean? It's so cool. So, it's just like full throttle ahead right now, where it was baby steps before. But now it's like full throttle ahead, and I'm so happy. And meeting the people on TikTok, especially people like Kali and our whole group, people like you guys, this is like a lifelong dream come true. You know what I'm saying? Like we're from all different walks of earth. She's from freaking Canada. Canada.
Where's
so
that?
far away.
You know what I'm saying? But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where I'm from. It doesn't matter how I grew up. It doesn't matter how we all share the love for Tolkien, and we're having this wonderful conversation, and we have connections. And then when we all meet, we're like, wow, this person is who they say they are. This is great, and we all have our wonderful. Just it's amazing. It's the camaraderie.
It's beautiful
is
to watch
real.
you work. For sure, for that reason.
Thank you.
'Cause you
I
can see the
appreciate
full
that so much.
circleness of it. Because I
Yeah.
do believe at the end of the day, if you're genuinely open to learning, B, confident and open to sharing, like if you're a genuine person, I really do think you're gonna have more longevity. You're gonna come to the place where your purpose and the opportunity meet if you follow your true north. And it's kind of exciting when that starts to take off. And like they say, be ready to sing your song when they play it. And it sounds like that's what's happening right now.
It feels like it, and I'm very grateful, very humble, and I know this could be a fleeting moment, but I'm just enjoying the ride while it lasts. And
But why put that out there too? No,
well, because I'm from a very place of very and I don't mean it like, oh, I want it to be a fleeting moment or I'm being pessimistic, but I'm a place of harsh realities.
Sure.
So I gotta make sure that I stay humble and just know that, hey, enjoy this, and of course we want it to go as far as it can, and we want to reach these heights. But if it doesn't, I don't want to be somebody who is bitter or this. I want to have enjoyed it and be thankful for who I met and the opportunities I was given, and be respectful to everybody, not get a big head about anything. That's not the way to be. Life will humble you if you don't humble yourself. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's happened to me before, and I'm so grateful for those life lessons. That's why my name is KnewBettaDoBetta. Like, you know what I'm saying? I've hit my head before. Life has taught me things, and I try to teach those things to other people as much as I can. I'm still going to make mistakes, and that's a known thing. And now when I move forward in life, knowing these things, you know, I'm more prepared. So like when I say I want to be humble, and I know this could be fleeting, let's say it is fleeting, then it's not going to crush me, and it's not going to hold me back in life. I'm not going to be like, oh, I'm never going to do anything again. I'm like, that was cool. Let me now for the next adventure. Now let me move on. I'm not going to be like deterred by anything, because I've been through that type of stuff before, and I try to be as respectful as possible, you know, except to people who hate on other people, or, you know, I got banned the other day, right, Callie? Because I don't tolerate no disrespect, nobody's talking about people colors, people sexual orientation, people who are scared, homophobic, all that type of weird stuff. Like, that stuff is weird to me, and it's not right. And I don't tolerate hate speech, and just being like who I am, like whatever, like how I grew up. You're never going to punk me to not saying something. I'm going to say something. So, and that's just how I am. So I said something, got banned, but I'm back. I got my own podcast, so I can do what I want.
Today.
You can.
Yeah. And we have the podcast.
Well, and so actually I'm glad you're bringing that up, because I'm beginning to see how people use hidden phrases to mean what they actually are saying. Like, woke is really them just either being homophobic or racist.
Racist, or any sexist, so many things, misogynistic.
So like, there's no real, once that argument, quote unquote, comes into the conversation, you're not going to actually be able to have a conversation.
Absolutely.
And Alex has been very helpful when it comes to keeping me from interacting. But I guess what I'm trying to ask is, you want to be tolerant except for tolerating intolerance, right? That's the whole thing. Do you actively just block those people? Do you I feel so helpless in this world, and it sounds like you're already going, fuck no, I hate you guys, and you're getting banned. Like, what's the right thing to do when you're getting faced with fucking assholes like that?
I don't
know if there's a right answer or a wrong answer to this.
There isn't, but you know, you do your best that you can, and what your knowledge of use your experience, use your life experience from what you know. We want to help everybody. Let's say, I don't want to just say fuck everybody, right? I want to be like, even a hateful person, your hope is, hey, how can we get them to learn this is not the way to be? How can they change? But then you also have to have the understanding that you can't change everybody. So you kind of deal with the person enough to where it's like, oh, this motherfucker ain't never going to change. They're never going to change. Nothing, no matter what I say. You know what? Kind of block them, because they're just going to be poison. And then there's people who genuinely, I'm not saying this right, they typically might just have grown up a certain way. They don't know any better, but they're open to, if you can get them to see different, they're open to that. They're like, oh, I didn't realize that what was happening. It starts with sympathy, then it's empathy when you put them in your shoes. And once they get the empathy, it's like, oh, snap, I didn't know it. You could say an analogy, or you could say, hey, how would you feel if I said this? And they might just completely see it and be like, I didn't realize it was like that. And if you can just open the doors so somebody can see through and get to them, then they can change, and they could be an advocate for what you're saying. So you trying to pick and choose. So if I see somebody that's willing to say, hey, listen, I don't know what's going on with this. I really don't like this. I don't understand this. It makes me uncomfortable. Hey, you shouldn't be uncomfortable. Are you secure with yourself? Why don't they have a right to be who? Hey, this is why Black people are getting put in films, or, you know, LGBTQ plus are being put in. There is no representation for them. So what if the roles were reversed, and you guys didn't have any representation? And then once you started getting that representation, everybody started complaining and saying, why? You exist, don't you? I exist, you exist. So why wouldn't we all be, you know, represented in these platforms and these these films and media and all? And then some people be like, wow, that's a really good point. Or they just don't care. You just pick and choose, and you say, you know what? I can talk to this person, and I'm going to keep them around, and hopefully they'll learn from it. If you see they're a troll, get rid of trolls. Don't
Yeah.
entertain trolls. Don't
Yeah.
feed the trolls, because you're going to be wasting your time arguing with them. So
Feed the
it takes a
trolls,
little bit
yeah.
of self-discipline and learning how to find them and who's who. But I
Because
think
it
people
is,
can.
you're giving emotional energy, and that's
That's
very,
it. So that's
that's
what I
very,
was, yeah,
Yeah.
gonna
no,
add to that is like before anything, like look out for yourself. Do you even want to engage? Do you have the energy to engage properly? Is it safe to engage? Like
right.
sometimes in my case, I've received messages that were not so thrilling to receive.
Yeah, both of
Oh,
And
that's
yeah,
an
I know
like
what you
understatement,
mean.
it sounds like.
I just didn't feel safe interacting with these people. So yeah, I would say like the first step is to look out for you and do what's best for you. And if everything is good and you're able to engage, then do everything that NewBetta just said.
Yeah.
Because his approach has always been really good and very direct.
And I
It's a
think
beautiful thing. And
also
oh, go ahead, Alex,
I
please.
think also that like I love what you said, New Beta, about like gauging who maybe you can make see your points, and the beauty of the internet and what we've kind of been talking about is like connecting with other fans and getting to see all these opinions and share in the joy. But the downside of the internet is that when we have those conversations, or we attempt to have those conversations, all nuance is lost. And so it can, especially on Twitter, it can become very difficult to have those conversations in a way that you can make people see different perspectives, because everything has to be so short, everything is concise, you can't read tone.
Yeah, can't
And
read
so
tone at all.
it's a beautiful thing, but it's also a horrible thing, because when you type, if you think about where they're coming from, if they're filled with hate or they're feeling hate for whatever reason, they're going to read that tone into what you say, because
Yeah.
they're reflecting themselves in your words. And so even if you're not coming at them with hate and you're just coming at them with empathy and trying to make them see something, they're maybe not going to read that message. So it can become difficult, I've found, to interact with people even when you come with the best intentions. You're just trying to be kind, you're just trying to make them see a different perspective. It can be very difficult. So
Yeah, it's tough, man. Slippery slope, it's to
yeah.
say. And today's climate isn't helping at all. But you know what? I believe very much that we're gonna end up on the right side of history. And we're gonna, come out on top. So you just
We're
gotta
in a
weather the
moment
storm.
of awakening for sure, right? Like if you really do look at it, like, I mean, the fact that you can get a couple people to go, oh, I think that's really encouraging.
Just takes one person. You never
That's
know. That
beautiful.
person could be the one to change the world. You never know.
Yep.
So
Yeah,
tell
and
us
I know
about
that
your
like I've
podcast.
also changed I've changed people's minds just by putting myself out there as a cosplayer.
Oh,
I
sure.
think sometimes the comments that I get are different from the comments that NewBetta gets. Yeah, there's just a lot of
I can only
racism
imagine.
to deal with there. But sorry, yeah, no, NewBetta, you were asking them about their podcast, which is
Yeah, so tell us how you got into podcasting, guys.
Great. Well, I'm trying to think of how far back. I basically needed to be busy over the pandemic because
Mm-hmm.
my industry like really steeply declined. It's all acting and no one didn't know what to do. And I was just kind of sitting there, and I do voiceover. So there was like still some trying to figure that out. And I felt like podcasting was a really nice natural step, and doing Twitch streaming. And so Alex, it was one of my consistent viewers who
Mm.
stood out to me as someone who I knew I related to on like a very personal level. Like my community is really wonderful, and obviously they like the Jessica juice somehow. But I could tell that when I would talk to Alex, there was like an understanding there, and so I didn't know it for 2 years, but I must have had a crush on Alex
I
immediately. I
feel a
know.
love story coming on. Tell
I
us all
know.
about it.
It's so cute, actually, when I think about it.
Allison,
I think Alex
Jessica,
calls it a chance meeting, which
Allison,
I don't know if it could be a
Jessica.
chance meeting after seeing each other for 2 years. And the best part is he wasn't like sitting in my chat going like, I'm waiting for her to notice me.
No.
He was just as very one of the most attractive things about Alex is his confidence in himself. He's got his own life going on. I'm sure we've all had our own different, bouts with relationships, and when someone doesn't really have self-esteem, it's hard to love that person, right? It's like you can't love somebody until you love yourself, and you can try and love the shit out of somebody, but until they love themselves, it's gonna weigh on you. It's gonna create an imbalance. Alex is his very own person, and we do this thing on my stream called it happened by accident one day, but we ended up ranking all of the Marvel characters by the most bangability. So
Oh, wow.
like I know. So like for me, Loki's at the top, right? So like instead of S tier, Loki's getting put to the top. And so, I started inspiring someone like Alex to go, hey, we should do Lord of the Rings. Or after we did Lord of the Rings, we did the most bangable Muppets. And it's been a really, actually, that was one of the more special ones. Alex said that he woke up with after a dream that he needed to do the best all of the Nick Cage characters. So we did all the most bangable Nick Cage characters, which it was just so much fun. So after doing the Lord of the Rings one, it was clear to me his knowledge needed to be put to use somehow, but as to how, it wasn't clear. And we actually just hashed this out, I think yesterday. He was probably the one who said, let's do a podcast then, after I said we should do something. And so
because I had been following all the news about the Rings of Power, and I was like, well, the Rings of Power is premiering, I don't know when we had the idea.
we had like
early
months.
this
So it was
year.
really actually a lot of
Yeah.
pre-planning, which was good.
Yeah. So I was like, well, this would be a perfect opportunity to launch a podcast, like sort of leading up to the Rings of Power show. And that's what we did with the show, is like we had a bunch of episodes leading up to September that covered sort of an episode each dedicated to the characters we were going to see on the show.
Nice.
Probably
We
gonna
knew
see.
about them from the books, what we might expect to see in the show, like kind of our thoughts on that. So that was like, I think 8 or 9 episodes.
8. So because we
Yeah.
had 8 and 8 basically. So 8 deep dives into characters, and then 8 like 1 and 2. I'm sure you guys had this struggle too, whether you do episode 1 and 2 separately, but because they drop together, do you do both of them together?
I think we did them together.
We did them
too.
together
Yeah.
because we did it with the group of us who
That
were
did it.
lucky enough to go to the advanced screening.
Yeah.
Nice.
Awesome.
So
Yeah.
So
of
we-
course, then you got to do it that way.
then we did it as like a whole experience thing.
Probably like on
encapsulated
cloud
episode.
9 too, going, oh my god.
Yeah,
What did you
yeah.
guys- what
It
did
was
you guys
hard
think
to
of the
tell what
show?
we were more excited about, for sure. But
That's fair.
I don't know if
Overall,
I've
did you
ever
guys
talked
like
about
the
it.
show, or what were your feelings about it?
wait, what
liked
did you
it,
not ever talk about?
Oh, sorry.
Oh no, well, I'll get back to that. But I
Oh.
did like the show. There's parts I didn't like, but
Right.
overall, I'd say I gave it like I always could do like out of a 10, I gave it like a 7.5, 8. I liked it a lot. There was parts I did not like. I didn't like certain, abundances of the lore, but I do understand where they were coming from and what they had to do. But some things I thought were silly. But overall, I think it landed in a good place, and we have a lot of room to grow and room to to move forward. So I absolutely did enjoy the show. I can't wait for season 2. I think we're in a strong place where we can move and make a really good series overall. 5 seasons. So. But perfect? No, not perfect, but
No.
pretty good.
But it feels like you're in Middle Earth, which I don't know anything else you want more than that, right? Than just to be able to like lose yourself. And you can watch the House of Dragons and that's fine, but it's not a world you love to be in. And you want to be in the middle. When you're reading Middle Earth or anything from Tolkien, you're like, just take me there. Let me be an elf. Jesus.
Nobody wants to be in the House of Dragons where it's like, I don't want to, no place sounds appealing, really.
That hair
Yeah.
looks
It's
great,
a
but I don't want
miserable
anything
world.
to do with that. Yeah, at all.
I don't want to be in Dragonstone's a little dreary. I don't want to be there.
Yeah,
In the
not at
north,
all.
Oh,
No.
yeah, I'm from the north already. I don't, no thanks. It's like, it's so funny. What I was saying is that I don't know if I've ever told Callie and them this, but so I was invited to go to the advanced screening, and I was fortunate enough to be able to invite 10 people. And
Wow.
immediately I was like, I gotta invite my peoples, my main group, you know. So when I got to call Callie and you know, Tim and Nick and everyone and tell them, hey, you guys get to go with me to the advanced screening in New York. And not only that, but we're gonna see each other for the first time physically. And like the response from everybody and the like, that was like one of my favorite moments ever in life. Like that was amazing. And these are people that deserve this regardless of whoever. Like I just happen to be lucky enough to have my voice heard by, you know, Amazon, to where they, you know, I had this relationship with them. But they the ones that deserved this from, you know, all the stuff they do. And we did trivia and the support to each other, to me, to each other. Like this is a really vibrant, beautiful community, and they super deserved it. So when I saw the glow on their faces and the happiness, it was amazing, and that really touched me, and that's all I cared about. I don't care if we just got there and didn't get to see anything. The fact that they were so excited and happy and like, wow,
We
like
really
what?
were. Oh my gosh, we were. We were so
It was
happy.
amazing.
It was
That's so
Yeah.
the
sweet.
forming of your own fellowship there.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So
And he's like,
dorky, Alex. I love it.
yo, we
Yeah.
become really good friends in real life, and that's really important, man. It's really important. You know, so me and Callie talk every day, and when we don't, I always yell at her, always like, "Where are you, Callie? Why aren't you on?
He really does. He really does. He's like, I did talk to you today. Like I
What's
talked to you
happening?"
yesterday. I talked to you more than I talked to my own mother.
Well, that makes sense though, because my mom's a stress case. I love her, but Jesus.
So
Ah,
it was awesome.
That's a
Yes,
beautiful thing. I think what is life except for just a bunch of memories at the end of the day? And so being able to kind of I think success is what you choose it to be, what you decide success is. And sometimes you can assign success retroactively and you kind of have to, right? Like actually, that moment was a fucking win. Um especially in acting, unless I have a friend or two that reflects back to me like, Jessica, you did this. You went to this party, you did this show, you did a commercial. It actually sounds like you were very successful, but with everything so drawn out, it's hard to see it.
yeah,
So being able to, I think that's how you stay humble. I mean, obviously, I don't think you ever need to be afraid about being that guy who's super grateful, but is remembering those moments. It brings joy for us to hear it, and it lifts you up to remember it as well. It's beautiful.
yes, man. Yes, absolutely. Oh man, guys, we're having a really good conversation here, man. You guys have touched my soul. You touched my soul right now.
I'm glad
So
that we
you
could because your stuff has touched ours.
man, thank you so much. So you guys, I know when we did our little before we do our podcast, we just go over everything. And you mentioned Alex, thank you so much for showing her my Finrod and Sauron rod.
Oh yeah, I love that. So good.
That's awesome, man. I was really proud of that. So I'm so grateful that people liked it and resonated with it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I mean that's one of my favorite things about just like the again talking about the online spaces is like, I mean, that's like your own adaptation of Tolkien. Like just like the Rings of Power is adapting Tolkien, that's like your own adaptation. And I love that we're seeing like so many just creative reinterpretations of his work, and it will continue to be that. So yeah, I loved seeing that, and just like a new take on that story it was beautiful.
Well, because the songs aren't written out, right? And so it was kind of cool to see your inspiration on what it might have been too.
Yeah, absolutely. So I
When
was just, I'm a very, very much a student of hip hop, and I rap myself and grew up in that. That's just as much a love as mine as Tolkien is. So being able to marry those two things, it was awesome because I was one of the reasons I love Tolkien so much, because of the poems and songs in there. It resonated with me because I'm somebody who loves music. You know what I'm saying? I don't talk
Yeah.
about it on TikTok because I'm so focused on my like Lord of the Rings lore, but I'm a huge hip hop fan. I love music. I rap. Write poetry, all that stuff. But that's separate part that I don't really get into. But it all connects, and I was able to do that. And I was like, yo, this will be cool, and it ended up working out, and it was dope. And you know, a lot of people were like, yo, that rap, that's cool. You know what I'm saying? So I just, I'm very grateful that you guys, you know, are one of those people who enjoyed it.
Yeah, and that's one of my because I'm a musician as well, and that's one of my favorite things about Tolkien's work is his own love of music. So much so, like, I mean, that one of my favorite things about his mythos is the Ainulindale, the
Yeah.
creation myth is music, like music creating the world. And when I remember when I first read that, I was like, oh, this is such a cool idea, talking about the themes, like weaving into each other. So yeah, I love that he was able to, you know, bring those two things together. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Callie?
I was just gonna ask if you ever get to do anything sort of Tolkien direction with your music, Alex.
You know, I haven't. I guess that would, you
Great
know, that would be a
question,
fun project to do is like, you know, I know many people have done similar things of like interpreting not interpreting, but taking his songs that are in his works and like setting them to actual music. But I would love to do something where it's just like taking different stories and like more abstractly kind of interpreting them in music. But I've never had a chance to do anything like that as of yet. I think mainly my experience is in the world of jazz music, and so I've never found that to be something where I can connect the two, like thematic or stylistically. But
But
there
of course,
might be
it's
something.
right
Fantasy
there.
saxophone.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
but it's there because so the thing actually the music has always and the poetry has always been cringe to me, even though there's so much music in my grandmother wrote for Motown, my brother's got a Warner Brothers, you know, deal right now. Almost did music as my passion, but nothing also makes me feel more vulnerable. And even so, we just got Alex has been reading the Lord of the Rings to me because we're
Aw.
currently I know it's actually so cute. We're currently long distance, so one of the ways I realized that we could stay in contact and have like a just not look at each other over the phone but actually interact was him reading to me. And so we just got to the point where they're at Lothlorien and Frodo is like thinking he's like going to be inspired to sing a song about Gandalf, which like I can't imagine just sitting around a fire and like I'm going to sing a 17 verse song now. That just sounds like frightening to me socially, but that's jazz, Alex. It's like he's just going to improvise the song and you
So
can't
what
I mean
you're saying is Frodo was a jazz musician this whole time.
maybe
I have
that's
a new
exactly what I'm saying.
appreciation
Babuda.
for his character now.
Skidibibop.
Oh, Gandalf. Da-da-da-da-da.
Oh my god.
And that's canon.
Why not?
Why not?
I love
Why
it.
not? Man, you guys made me think of when they're singing the lament for Gandalf, and you know they asked Legolas, "Yeah, what are they saying?" He says, "Don't have the heart to tell you."
Yeah,
That is, in
That's
the book
deep.
is crushing, crushing. I don't have the heart to tell you. Oh man,
Yeah.
That's
It's
why
still
I'm going to
too
stick to my
raw.
reasoning.
Yeah.
Well, and even in the movie, I think they land that moment pretty nicely too.
yeah, they landed
Es-
pretty nicely in them.
Especially because Legolas in the book sings about him by the river and then gets to hear them lament him separate in their own tongue. It's very moving. That's what I'm saying. I'm sticking to Gandalf being the best story. I'm just doing it. He's the guy.
Yeah, Gandalf is that
my
guy.
guy. Do you guys
Gandalf
think the
is that guy.
stranger is Gandalf?
We know that the stranger is Gandalf. I don't.
Okay.
This whole discourse that who is the stranger is, it's over. It's Gandalf. They told
Alex
us it's
doesn't
Gandalf.
want it to be.
I don't see
It's Gandalf.
I still am holding out hope it's a blue wizard, but they've dropped so many hints that it is Gandalf that I can't do that. I
Also,
think
Alex didn't want Halbrand to be Sauron, which was so clear from like episode 1 because I was like,
I was in
dude,
denial.
or episode 2 because that dude just let all those people die on that raft, and that's
Thank
like
you.
cold.
Thank you.
The moment you knew, Jess, well, you knew immediately, but the moment I remember you specifically going Sauron was when he just looks at the forges in Numenor, and I'm like, well, no, someone else could be into forging stuff
Nah.
too.
Thank you, Jess. Thank you. We were of one mind, one soul.
I literally saw you respond to somebody, KnewBetta, where it's like, what show are you watching? Who's like, no, Halbrand is not.
What are you
'Cause
watching?
it's-
Like, it's clearly Sauron. Like, what?
And I
know you
can
want to pick
understand
things
they are
together,
kind
but
of redirecting our thought. They're kind of MacGuffining it a little bit, but I guess that's why it was really great to rewatch it all and see how they peppered in Sauron through him. And that's
Mhm.
why it's resonating as the most interesting storyline because of how they did it. Honestly,
everything
Charlie
he did, I
Vickers
was like,
was
he's a
fine.
fucking
He
guy.
only got better to me as
Yeah.
the more I learned about that character.
When his eyes turned into the cat eyes,
Yo,
I was
Yeah.
like, GOAT status
Yeah.
right there. Sauron, that's Sauron's eyes are like a cat, it says. And I loved it. I was like,
he got
yes.
sexy in that moment. He became
I
like he
don't know what you're
transcended.
talking about.
Just saying. It
Yo.
does. So Alex is the nicest man I've ever dated and intend to only date ever. And after this, but I
Aw.
love the worst men. I love it when they're bad. And so the second he started tempting Gladriel, I was like, okay, I'm on board.
When he's like, bind yourself to me, you're like,
because
yes, please.
I don't believe that there was a huge romantic undercurrent. I think that's what they were trying to be the MacGuffin about. I think they were trying to be a red herring of there's a romantic plot. It's not. He's attracted to her power, and
Power
she's
play,
attracted to his power too.
Yeah.
Because it's
See?
not until he sees her fight that they have that connection. He's like, oh,
Okay, yeah. He knows she's second to him
yeah.
in strength.
He
in
sees her
Middle
do the hanging off the horse, and he's like, hey, okay.
Yeah, I think yeah, definitely a little MacGuffin. It was, I've never used that term before, but that must be a California thing. MacGuffin.
Well, MacGuffin's right. Is that right, Alex? Because I know it's red herring, but maybe
No,
MacGuffin
MacGuffin is like a thing in a story where it's like the thing you need. We need to go get X. That's a
okay, so I
MacGuffin.
knew I was wrong. So red herring is what refers to, oh, look over here, and we're gonna make you
Yeah.
think the key is important. So I have this malapropism problem where I use words incorrectly all the time.
Oh, sorry.
And I'm not complaining. This is who I am. But MacGuffin, I misremembered. I also didn't know what was the word? When they ratify something. I didn't know what ratify meant. And Alex is so smart, and he's all of a sudden like, oh, I'm dating a really dumb girl.
No.
No,
But you
I'm
know
smart
what?
my own way. I'm intelligent. I'm emotionally smart.
The love in this the room here is it's palpable. It's awesome.
I'm so glad.
Oh, you guys are so cute.
Adorable. This is so cute.
He's so cute. I'm sorry. I can't stop talking about him. It's
Please
so,
go on.
Well, I will. It's been so nice to find it so easy to talk on the podcast together, B, talk separately and still have plenty to talk about when it comes to Tolkien. And Alex is also, you can say this is true or not, Alex, but like he's also a little stubborn. He's a little adamant about what he believes. He's a little snarky, but that I find that sexy too. I find that like, all right, I'll accept the. I mean, I see your Among Us poster back there. I'm a competitor. I want to fight people.
That's my son. I mean, my son. I always
Never mind. All of a sudden I went, that's probably not his poster.
But I'll fight you in Among Us though. I've played it before.
He will fight you in everything.
You don't know what you've
Please.
started, KnewBetta.
Join our stream, and I will. And actually, Alex is scary. Alex will make you question your life when he plays you in Among Us. So, but he's so great at accepting other ideas. I turned him into believing Antimo was a good character. He thought
Yes.
Antimo, the actor, was really cheesy, and I made him see the light. So he's open to all sorts of stuff.
Now, I'm very used to in this day and age, and especially in this series and House of Dragon as well, the women that watch it are always called, that whoever they fancy, Zaddy, and of some variation of you know what I'm saying, Run Daddy,
Elendil.
this one, and Lynn Daddy, and Gilga Daddy, and all that stuff. And the guys haven't been really doing that. So I'm gonna throw my hat in the ring, and I'm gonna say I have a huge crush on Muriel. She's so beautiful.
Oh my gosh, she's beautiful.
She's
In her armor,
gorgeous.
she's crazy.
She's gorgeous. Morfydd Clark as well. She's so gorgeous.
Mm.
But Muriel is like, I'm like, oh, if I could say that without my wife killing me, I love you so much. You know what I'm saying? Like, she is gorgeous. She's so bad. I'll be looking at her like, damn, she's bad. Like, so
She's like a mermaid with the scale, and like but she's got like, I was re-looking at her, she's like a regalness, but
Yeah, it's so
also,
regal.
But she
yes,
has
but
that in
also like,
the actress has it in real life too. Like
I
she
know. I was
carries
talking to her
herself
like,
so amazingly, and
all the
she's
other
just
actors show up in
oh.
like t-shirts and dumb outfits, and she's showing up in like full couture and beautiful. She knows what she offers too. She
Max
is
and Baldry's sleeveless Argyle
Oh
sweater
my
vest that we
goodness.
saw. Do you guys see that
who are
picture?
you? Who are you into, Alex? It's okay. Jessica's
Oh,
not
okay.
gonna
It's
yell
okay,
at you.
Alex. I'm gonna close my. I will say this though before he answers. When he says that men are sexy, it's very sexy to me. He's very straight. Not that that needs to be clarified, but he can acknowledge when a man is
Oh,
sexy.
yeah.
And anyway, I'm gonna carry. Go ahead, Alex.
Yeah, Robert Aramayo. Oh my God. I would say I think it's interesting because and Jess and I talked about this before. In the even though there are a lot of beautiful women on the show, I think they don't really like sexualize them,
They don't sexualize them, man.
which
I
is
think that's
great.
awesome.
Yeah,
Mm.
it's great. So they're just, I think that, and I think maybe that's why you see more of the, Alen Daddy and Gilga Daddy. Not that
Oh,
they're,
how about this? I coined Caleb Brimbor being leather daddy when he finally got
Oh
an
my
outfit
goodness.
that
Finally got his
apron.
apron.
Yeah.
Finally.
finally
that
wearing a
green tunic was
form-fitting
killing me.
something or other.
Well, and that moment between him and
God,
Halbrands when
Kelly.
they're like leaning
Oh,
over the
come on.
anvil. Oh my God.
That was
no.
that was sex on a forage right
Oh,
there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Just whispering sweet nothings in his ear. I would say for me, probably Bronwyn. I mean, maybe it's the
What?
dress.
Really?
Maybe because she is the most sexualized, I think, of all the female characters.
Sure.
And I mean that kiss. Come on, it's just
You know what I
Yeah.
love
The kiss
about
we were
her?
waiting for 6 episodes.
it
I
was
think
worth
they made
it,
us
though.
wait too long, honestly. What I love about
Yeah.
her is that you can tell she's strong, but she's also soft. She's got like just a little, I want to pinch her fat and like be like, oh, I love this girl. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I think I have a girl crush on Disa. I think that's where my heart goes.
Oh,
Actually,
Disa is
Disa
beautiful
or
yeah.
as
Poppy.
well. She is gorgeous. Disa is
Gorgeous. And it's just so
gorgeous.
awesome to see a woman get to be. It breaks my heart for the actors of color that they have to deal with people just being angry that they're there to begin with. But at the
Just
same
there, right?
time, like it's so upsetting that they don't just get to appreciate or get to enjoy being on an amazing show and have an amazing role. But then you just get to see a woman singing her fucking heart out, acting her heart out, getting to play multiple emotions. It's just the dream role. And she kills it. She kills it.
Absolutely did kill it. She absolutely did.
Just like you two bringing a little bit of extra spiciness to our cast, I found that Disa and Durin brought that little bit of extra spiciness to the screen, and that
fucking
was so
loves her.
perfect.
He
Yeah.
loves her.
That was
They
so
fuck.
perfect.
Oh yeah. There are definitely there's some hard innuendo and flirting between them. Where you're like, oh, okay.
But don't you love seeing him just like unabashedly adore his wife too?
I love
It's
it.
just
No, I do.
it's
I
so
love it.
sweet.
And I love it that they just so unapologetic and they're just so natural too. It seems so natural. That relationship was a blessing to the show. So it's one of those things unlooked for that you actually are like, wow, this is really dope. So that's amazing.
Totally
So.
agree. I think that's the thing that is hard for people to see when it comes to the importance, and I'm preaching to the choir, but the importance of inclusion in our media now is it's not just so that, okay, we got to hit a quota, guys. You're actually going to only enrich a story. You're only going to enrich your life by bringing viewpoints you've never seen before or people who can tell stories you can't tell.
Yeah, absolutely.
Your whole life, and it only gets better the more people you include it in. And we're seeing that like tenfold on screen when they get it right like that.
So speaking of all these love stories and whatnot, this is going to lead me into my question before we get out of here. So I have a question. I'm going to ask both of you guys the same question, and you guys answer it however you want. And you can use the entire legendarium. So any character from anyone. So Jessica and Alex, if you could marry anyone from the Lord of the Rings, who would it be? Any part of the Lord of the Rings. If you could have anybody protect you from the Lord of the Rings, any part of the legendarium, who would it be? And then who would you fight anybody from the Lord of the Rings, any race, anything. Out of all those three, you can pick anybody from any story, any time period, whatever. So who would you
Love
marry?
this.
Who would you have protect you? And who would you fight?
Love this.
Then
Okay,
Jeff,
All
you
right,
go
I'm gonna
first.
let Alex go first, unless
Oh,
you're
Alex is
sorting
gonna
it.
go. Okay, Alex,
Jess,
go.
I'll let you answer for me about who I'd marry.
Oh, Eowyn.
No.
He looked
Wait,
at you
I
like,
asked you what your favorite love story was. Oh, Galadriel.
Well, that's not who.
You fucking.
Yeah,
you
I'd marry
fucking-
Galadriel. Yeah.
There, look,
Ever since I
Galadriel.
saw, Kate Blanchett portray her on screen, I've been in love with Galadriel, and she's just a badass.
I can't compete.
Well,
sure you
she's not
can.
real, so it's okay. You don't have to. But yeah, I would definitely marry Galadriel. I mean, extremely powerful, graceful, beautiful, immortal woman who's been around since the elder days. Like, come on, what more do you want? Ruler of a kingdom. She could protect you with her abilities. Like,
I'm right
definitely,
here. Alex. Keep it
definitely
going.
her. Although I will,
She's right there.
although I will say, this is hypothetical. It's fine. I
Yeah,
will
sure.
say, based on how much time she spends apart from her husband, maybe that would come with some downsides. But I think it would be Galadriel for Mary.
Okay.
Who would I want to protect? Let's do who would I want to fight? Probably Ted Sandyman, because he's a dick. I would just want to kick the crap out of Ted Sandyman.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fuck you, Ted.
And I could take him, so I wouldn't be worried about
Definitely
him.
could take Ted.
Good
Yeah.
answer.
Punch him.
So just punch him in the face. Come on,
Yeah.
you jerk. And then who would I want to protect me? I mean, I think if we're talking in terms of power and we're talking in terms of willingness to do anything to protect you, it would have to be Gandalf. Gandalf
All right.
sacrifices his own life to protect his friends. So, and he's extremely powerful. So I would probably want Gandalf having my back.
Excellent. That is excellent. I like those three choices. Yes.
So there's a meme where it's everyone wants a hero, but the villain will literally kill people to save you. Okay.
Yeah.
So, I
If
mean,
you have a villain on your
what
side.
do you want, right? So I think I'm gonna want Sauron to protect me
Yes.
Ooh.
Good
Yes.
choice.
because
The
I think
deceiver.
if he could bind his power to me, and I would not have had the strength to say no to him. By the way, I'm sure. So I would have been like, she's not available. I'm right here. So
All right.
Sauron's gonna protect me. I think I'm gonna marry Aragorn because, oh my God, he's the apex man. He loves the fuck out of Arwen. He loves her so much.
Yeah,
And
she
even
does.
looking at pretty Eowyn and doesn't care. I mean, but he respects women. Anyway, I think
Yeah.
I want to, from a purely competitive, not because she sucks standpoint, I would fight Eowyn. I would want to see what it was like to fight her.
Give her them hands.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
you
think
good with a sword, but what about these hands though?
Yeah, you can kill the Witch King, but I'm a bitch king. So let's go.
That's awesome. Guys, those were awesome answers to those questions. Those are some of the best answers that we've gotten on this show. So thank you so much. And before we get Callie's self-care tip, thank you guys for coming on. Thank you guys for talking to me. Thank you for being a part of the new culture that we got going on. We're definitely gonna be watching you guys on your podcast, seeing you grow. You know what I'm saying? And why don't you guys join our Discord and be a part of our community?
Yes.
You'll see that it is fun. We're literally gonna watch Blade later, right, Callie?
Yes, we are.
That's
Because I
we're about
haven't
to
seen
watch
it yet.
Blade.
So we're
She
gonna
hasn't
watch
seen
some
Blade, so
Halloweeny movies.
That's amazing.
Callie is going to give us a self-care tip. Then after that, just tell us where you guys can be found one more time, and then we'll get out of here. And thank you so much. Can't tell you how much fun I've had talking to you guys.
So much fun.
All right. So self-care for this week. I've been doing this now for 17 episodes, and they've, sort of been all over the place, and I've really expounded on how important self-care is. But if you've been listening to all of these and you still just don't know where to start, here are some ideas. So first tip is find a green space near you. The second one is try working, or in our case, podcasting from a different space. Now, this might not be as easy as it seems when you're podcasting and you have all your equipment set up, but even just like moving from the desk to the bed sometimes, or from the desk to the, the room to office to the kitchen, that can just kind of rejuvenate your thoughts. Tip number 3, take a few minutes out of your day for uninterrupted stillness. Tip number 4, create a series of no meeting or no recording days for yourself. So not just one day off, but like try to give yourself 2 or 3. Tip number 5, be mindful about switching off after work or after you're done recording. Try to make it so that you're not just reliving the recording or already planning the next one in your head. Like give yourself the time after you've done something to properly rest from it. Tip number 6 is to block out regular slots in your calendar to do something small that makes you happy. So if doing things in a big way is just too intimidating, or you can't schedule, or you're not at a point yet where you can schedule multiple days off, even if it's a half an hour out of your day to do something that makes you happy, can make a big difference in your self-care. And the last one is try having a non-work conversation with your colleague or say your podcast partner. And yeah, all of those things can just help towards making you feel a little bit better about yourself.
I wrote it all down, so thank you for that.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
before we go, you guys have been amazing. This hour has just flown by, just in total whirl. But that means we had good conversation and that I totally just got lost in it. So that is amazing. One last time, where can we find you and your podcast online?
Yeah. Well, you're gonna find, first of all, obviously, thank you. I'm gonna make sure Alex tells you about his Twitch and stuff. But this is the first thing we've done outside of working with ourselves. So this is awesome, as I'm
Been a
sure you can
blast.
tell. Yeah, you can find us at podcastoftherings.com or Patreon / Pod of the Rings, or Pod of the Rings on Twitter, or if you search Podcast of the Rings on, I guess any of our social media has like a universal link. So if you just click it, it's probably going to launch the listener platform of your choice. And I Twitch stream often, twitch.tv / Jessica Nerdy, NERDY, rhymes with Verdi, which is my last name. It's smart, I know. And that's how Alex and I met. And Alex, tell them where you're at.
Yeah, I am at twitch.tv / Solkatu, SOLKATTU. I stream there 3-4 times a week, playing games, talking Tolkien. We did some watch parties for Rings of Power. I read the Akalabeth on stream. I've read other parts of Silmarillion, and want to return to doing a read along of Lord of the Rings on there on that channel as well. So, and yeah, and just anywhere you can find podcasts, Podcast of the Rings.
All right.
Nice. I'll make sure to
Guys,
put
it's
your
been a
Twitch
pleasure.
handles as well under the YouTube description so that we can all find you.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
because you guys
Thank
deserve to be found. You guys are absolutely a gem, and you're a hell of a couple. So you guys make sure you get married soon, because this is the cutest thing I've ever seen. And
It
Thank
really is.
you.
Lord of the Rings
Yeah.
themed wedding.
We've only been together for 6 months, but it's definitely going to be in 70 years soon. So
Yeah, very, very awesome, guys. It was an
Thank
honor and a pleasure
Thank
talking to you guys. This is real fun. Look forward to having you back and possibly being on your podcast. Huh?
100%. I think
Yeah,
that's
let's do
an
it.
easy yes, absolutely.
All right, that's awesome,
Yay.
guys. We're going to get out of here. Thank you so much. Episode 18, right, Callie? 18?
That's right. Yes, here we
All right.
are.
All right, guys. Take it easy and have a wonderful night.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.